Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. As you may see, I may have got a haircut and trimmed up a little bit, just trying to get my inner Dexter Loomis on. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing Night 1 and Night 2 of WrestleMania, what happened, my thoughts, and how I felt about the whole thing. Night 1 started off with Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. That match was actually a great match. I love both Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre both. They're two of my favorite wrestlers in the company right now. Since we had the live crowd back, I figured they'd let Drew win this one so he can get a crowd reaction. But I was kind of surprised they didn't. It was a great match all around. Two, heavyweight brawlers going at it. The match ended with Drew going for a Claymore kick, and then MVP on the outside says something to him and distracts him. So Drew stopped like midway in the ring, looks at MVP, and then tries to continue hitting the Claymore kick. Bobby Lashley ducks, and then Bobby puts on the Hurt Lock. Looks like Drew's gonna roll him up, pin him, but Bobby Lashley rolls through, keeps the Hurt Lock on him, and Drew McIntyre passes out. It was a great finish and made Bobby Lashley look strong, and it made Drew McIntyre a worthy competitor, basically. He didn't tap out, he passed out from the pain of the Hurt Lock, I guess you would say. And then after that, we have the tag team turmoil match to determine who would face the women's tag team champions on night 2. It started off with Lana and Naomi versus Billie Kay and Carmella. Billie Kay and Carmella ended up beating Lana and Naomi with a roll-up. Carmella helped Billie Kay pin by putting her feet on the back of Billie Kay. So that happened. And then the second team to come out was the Riot Squad with Liv Morgan and Ruby Riot. They eliminated Billie Kay and Carmella. And then Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose came out to the ring. For Mandy Rose. There was a 45-minute weather delay because there was thunderstorms going on, and the ramp was wet, and she ended up falling on her way to the ring. And then they ended up getting eliminated by the Riot Squad as well. And then the last team to come out was Natalya and Tamina. Tamina ended up picking up the victory after Tamina hit the splash onto Ruby Riot, pinning her, and then they ended up getting the title shot for night 2 of WrestleMania. And then after that match was Cesaro and Seth Rollins. This was the match I was really looking forward to. Both of my favorite wrestlers going at it. And they said Cesaro had never had a singles match at WrestleMania, which was kind of surprising to me. I know he was in a tag team most of that time with like The Bar and Tyson Kidd. And then he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. You can't tell me Cesaro is not over with the fans. It was a great match overall. Pretty much what I kind of expected from both of them. Both great technical wrestlers. Cesaro being one of the strongest wrestlers there is in the company right now. You can see the crowd reaction he gets when he hits the UFO. Once he hit the UFO, people were standing on their feet just cheering for him. He hits the neutralizer after he does the Cesaro swing and then pins Seth Rollins for the 3 count. I'm really glad they let Cesaro get his WrestleMania moment there. He really deserves it. After that match, we have the Raw Tag Team Champions with the New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. This match was pretty much how I expected how they would use Omos in this match. So Kofi and Xavier basically keep AJ in the corner for most of the match. After, about 5 minutes of them just beating him up and him standing their side of the ring, AJ finally gets a tag to Omos. Omos comes into the ring and starts just obliterating Kofi and Xavier both. AJ and Almost pick up the victory after Almost just puts his foot on for the pin. Like I said, this is pretty much what I expected with Almost and AJ Styles, and having AJ getting beat up for most of the match, and then Almost comes in and wins it for them. And then after that match, we have the steel cage match with Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon. Basically, a Shane McMahon match has a couple high spots from him. Him usually, falling from big heights onto tables or onto the ring. In this one, it started out with him in the ring holding onto the cage, and then Elias and Jackson Riker come out there and hit Braun Strowman with chairs, hitting him in the knee, and then Shane worked that over for most of the match. Shane ended up going onto the other side. Strowman grabbed him by the hand because Shane was just taunting at this time. Grabbed him by the hand. Braun Strowman ends up ripping the cage, part of the cage, and bringing him back in. And then Braun Strowman throws him on top of the steel cage and then throws him off the steel cage, and Shane McMahon lands on his back. Strowman gets down, hits the running power slam on him, and then pins him for the 3 count. I'm really surprised they let Strowman win this one. I figured they'd let Shane McMahon win this one because it's Shane McMahon. And then after that one, we have the surprise match of the night with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and Morrison. If I'm being honest, I really didn't expect a lot from Bad Bunny, but I'm glad that he made me eat my words because he was really fluid in what he does. He's, a lifelong WWE fan, so he knows what he's doing. He knows all the moves and everything. He's put in a lot of training. I could see that, and it was great to see that. He hit the Falcon Arrow with Damian Priest real smooth. He hits the Canadian Destroyer on John Morrison on the outside. Looked really, really good. Like when they showed the Miz's face, that was pretty much how I reacted to it as well, because that was ridiculous. He looked really good in this match, and he earned my respect. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest end up picking up the victory over Miz and Morrison. And then the match after that was the SmackDown Women's Championship match for Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. This match was the best match of the night and best match of WrestleMania altogether. Sasha's one of the best women's wrestlers in the company right now, and Bianca was definitely a worthy challenger of that title. I'm not gonna lie to you, it kind of brought a tear to my eye to see, those two women actually earning this spot, and the crowd reaction was getting to me as well. And then you had Bianca getting teary-eyed, so it didn't help my case any at all. A couple of times that I thought Sasha would actually retain her belt. So the ending is Sasha's been pulling on Bianca's braid this whole time, the whole entire match. He's been, wrapping it into the ropes and pulling her by it and this, that, and the other, and she ends up pulling her hair back and then hits her with that extension like a whip, and the sound, you can hear it. It was nasty. It was ridiculous. And then, after the match, you could see that she had, a big old whelp on the side of her body. Bianca hits her with Bianca hits her with that, and then she hits the KOD, pins her for the 3 count, and ends up winning the SmackDown Women's Championship. It cut to her family, and it showed her dad almost jumping over the barricade. That's raw reaction, basically. It was great to see an actual crowd again. It's been a long time, and I've missed seeing an actual crowd and not piped in crowd noise and people over Zoom. Night 2 was a little less impressive, Night 2 was a little less impressive in my opinion. Night 1 definitely caught my attention. Night 2 was a little step down in some aspects. The first match was Randy Orton versus The Fiend. Randy took his time getting to the ring, and then you had Alexa come out, and there was a giant Jack in the Box, and you're like, oh man, who's coming out now? And she starts turning the Jack in the Box, and the Fiend comes out, and he looks restored, basically, just not the melted mess that he was. It was a short and sweet match, if I do say so myself. The ending is, I really don't understand it. So, the Jack in the Box is still there after the Fiend entered the match. The lights go dim, and Bliss is just popping out of the Jack in the Box, and she's just got the black goo just spraying everywhere all over her face, and the Fiend is distracted and just looking at her, and then Randy hits the RKO, pins him for the 3 count, and after that, the Fiend and Alexa just look at each other, and the lights go out, and then they turn back on, and they're both gone. I don't know what kind of ending that was. Just a little weird. And then the next match was the women's tag team championship match with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Tamina. I really thought that Nia and Shayna would be dropping their titles because they've been having a falling out as of late. I mean, it kind of caught me by surprise that they actually retained in this match. So Natalya locks in the sharpshooter. Shayna comes in and puts the Karafuda clutch on her, and Natalya ends up passing out. So Shayna and Nia retain the titles. After that match, we get the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn match featuring Logan Paul. It was a fairly decent match. It was real short and sweet and to the point, which was the case with pretty much all these matches. Sami and Kevin Owens usually have great matches together, and this one was pretty good as well. The end of the match is Kevin Owens saying that you brought this on yourself, hits him with a stunner, pins him for the 3 count, and then Logan Paul comes in to congratulate Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn gets mad at Logan Paul. Logan Paul ends up shoving Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn ends up walking off. Logan Paul raises Kevin Owens' hand. Kevin Owens just looks at him, and then they went to go shake hands. Kevin Owens kicks him in the gut, hits him with a stunner, and Logan Paul's selling of the stunner was pretty much like Vince McMahon's first sell of Stone Cold Stunner. And then after that match, we have Sheamus versus Riddle for the U.S. Championship. This match was a pretty good match as well. 2 heavyweight brawlers going at it. It was a fairly decent match. The ending is Riddle went to do a springboard moonsault and land on Sheamus. Sheamus hits him with a broke kick in midair, busting his lip open. Sheamus pins him for the 3, and then after that, you just see Matt Riddle just gushing blood from his mouth. He kicked him pretty good. They showed it on replay like 2 or 3 times, and you can see him just really kicking him in the mouth. And then after that, we have the Nigerian drum fight for the Intercontinental Championship between Apollo Crews and Big E. I thought this match would get a lot more time than it did. It really should have, because those two are pretty great together. I really wanted them to let Big E retain this title, but the ending was something else. So Big E goes for the big ending on Apollo Crews, and then there was a big, massive guy that came in and interfered, helping Apollo Crews. It was Dabakato, Babintude, whatever you want to call him, and they're like, oh, we've never seen this guy before, even though he was on Raw Underground not even 3 or 4 months ago. But he hits him in the face, and then it choke slams him, and Apollo Crews pins him for the victory, earning the Intercontinental Championship. After that match, we have the Raw Women's Championship with Rhea Ripley versus Asuka. This match was probably the second best match of the night after the main event. These two are 2 of the best women's wrestlers in the company right now, I would say in the company right now. Asuka's, she's great at what she does. She's held the Raw Women's title for a long time after Becky dropped it to her. She was real dominant in NXT. She's been real dominant on the main roster so far. Rhea Ripley was her match against Charlotte last year really kind of made me upset because she dropped the title to Charlotte and never got a fair chance to regain that title. But she ends up beating Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship here, so hopefully that title reign will go on for a little bit. I really hope it does. I don't know what they're gonna do. And then after that match, we have the triple threat main event with Roman Reigns, Edge, and Daniel Bryan. This match was the best match of the night. It starts off with Jey Uso interfering pretty much right off the bat, hitting super kicks on both Edge and Daniel Bryan. Edge hits the execution on Jey Uso on some steel steps, rendering him unconscious for a little bit. And then there was a spot in the match where Edge got 2 chairs, brought him into the ring, thought he was going to do a concerto. At that time, he goes to hit Roman with the chair. Roman grabs the chair away from him, and then he pulls it away, and the chair ends up breaking a piece off of it. And then Edge puts Roman in the crossface, and then ends up using part of that chair to help him out a little bit. And then Daniel Bryan comes into the ring and puts on the yes lock, so they're both trying to make Roman tap out. It would have been interesting if they did let Roman tap out to both of them. And then they start headbutting each other, breaking up the submissions on Roman. Edge then hits Roman with the spear. Thought he was going to get the 3 count here, but Daniel Bryan ends up pulling the ref out of the ring. And then Jey Uso ends up coming back and helping out Roman even more. And then Edge went and got 2 more chairs, put both Daniel Bryan and Roman on one of them. Ends up hitting the concerto on Daniel Bryan. He went to go hit Roman Reigns with the concerto. Roman hits him with a spear, and then he ends up hitting the concerto on Edge, and then ends up dragging Edge's body on top of Daniel Bryan's body and pinning them both at the same time to retain the title. This title reign has been the best title reign that he's ever had. He's looking really dominant, and I'm glad I would have been okay with all 3 of these guys winning. I really wanted Daniel Bryan to win this match, but having Roman retain was probably the best decision. That is the end of the review for me. If you did enjoy me reviewing WrestleMania, make sure to subscribe, leave a like on the video, leave a comment on the video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.